Hello and welcome everybody to Around the Battleground. My name is LHS and welcome to the show, everybody. We are in a post MSI world. Phase 1 is now complete. Mid-season is now complete. So the only thing ahead of us is phase 2 and then worlds. We're in the second half of the season officially. And what a way to kind of cap off the first half than the MSI. The MSI was a huge success, I feel like. In some parts more than others, and we'll kind of get to that. But largely, exactly what we kind of expected and wanted, more so. Very competitive. And like we've been saying all season so far, this has been the most competitive season of Smite, probably the entire history of the game. At least I feel like it's definitely the most competitive since I've been around, but I have only been around since about season 3, so I missed quite a good deal of like original Smite launch tournament, all that kind of good stuff. As you can see, it's just me today. Unfortunately, right before the show, Culture had an emergency with his car and had to go take that in a shop. So it'll be just me. And we kind of like it that way sometimes. Lets me rant, and I know you guys love it when I kind of go off on these tangents. So today's show probably be around that hour mark, just because I'm really good and consistent about hitting that. And it could go a little longer, could go a little shorter. Well, who knows? Depends on how ranty I get. I already know there's one topic where I'll probably get a little ranty about the placement bracket, but apart from that, some side news. So we got the SPL going, all cool stuff. I know you all care about that, but for me, what I care about is little announcement is my SML, my combine team, Huevos and Fuego, has now promoted into the SML, and I'm really excited for that. Their coach, and we've been working together for a bit, and we put in the hours, and I'm really proud of those boys for sticking together and getting in there. I'm really excited, looking forward to the competition, getting to scrim SML, and maybe even some SPL if we're lucky. Who knows? But exciting times on that front. Really excited. So we've got my team. We've got I don't know what's going on with the other team though. That's a really weird thing with basically the entire squad going to Cryptic and then other players going down and others going up. It's a really weird thing. But phase 2 should be really cool because we've got an expanded SML. We're gonna have more games, more matches. Hopefully that gets a little bit even more competitive. I know it'll be interesting to see how those combine teams going up into the SML actually compete, and whether or not it retains some of that competitiveness that we were seeing. So really cool. That's my personal stuff. We'll move on to the real thing. So mid-season invitational happened. We had the top teams from console, minor league, kind of show up the first day. I was going to go more there, but it's NA, EU, console, and minor league playing against each other. And it's the first time we've had kind of that happen. Usually it is just, minor league going up against the SPL. But getting the console in there was a really interesting wrinkle. A lot of people have looked at the console league as lesser for a long time, and I really feel like that's kind of negligent of the evolution of that scene, because they have really kind of come into their own and really become solid players. I mean, you look at some of the players that have come out of the console. I mean, I think one of the biggest poster childs for this entire scene has probably been Sino. I mean, you look at what he's done. He won a world championship, right? So how much more can you achieve as a console player going to PC? And I really think that was kind of one of the turning points, for console players. I mean, obviously you still do have bus, but you have bus going from combine to SML or SML to SPL, right? That's still very much alive in any aspect of the competition. So I don't think you can really say that, SCL produces more bus when they go to whatever. Come on, dude. So to start off the play-in bracket for the midseason, we had Hype Unit and Flashpoint. We'll look at the whole schedule here, and then we'll kind of break down the games one by one. So we had Flashpoint and Hype Unit, Out Cold and Armada, Rival Xbox and Sanguine, and then Nemesis and Simplicity. We'll kind of break down all those games individually. Flashpoint Hype Unit was a bit of an interesting set. I actually feel like Hype Unit came out pretty flat-footed. They really weren't performing like they should have been. I mean, this is a squad of world champions, right? I don't know if it was nerves or just finally being on LAN and using mouse and keyboards together got them. But Flashpoint was down a man, and I really feel like with Flashpoint down a member, you have to capitalize on that. And Hype Unit was really barely able to put Flashpoint away. Flashpoint would have been a really interesting squad here if they were at 100%. And I really wish we could have seen Hype Unit and Flashpoint go at each other at 100%. It's hard for me to say that Hype Unit would have won against Flashpoint if Flashpoint were 100%. And I think that kind of, it mars the MSI a little bit because you have that what if question on that squad because they were looking really strong. And they were looking strong at the online phase, and now at LAN, they're looking equally strong. It's the first time we've seen these guys on a LAN. And I think that is also an interesting topic is these Hype Unit guys, they've been to LANs. They're console world champions. So they have that LAN experience. Whereas Flashpoint, I don't think any of these guys have ever gone to a LAN. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to double check myself. But I don't believe any of those guys had ever been to a LAN. And so it's a really interesting dynamic there where the console team is more experienced, but the PC team had been around longer. I don't know. That was a really good set. We learned a little bit about Hype Unit. I feel like there were still a lot of question marks there on whether or not they could hang with the teams. Obviously, I feel like walking out of that, Hype Unit won, but again, would they have won against 100% Flashpoint? Based on that first performance, I don't think they would have. I think Flashpoint 2-0's Hype Unit, if I'm being completely honest, just based off of that first set. Obviously, if we look at their second set and look ahead, maybe Hype Unit could take out Flashpoint. But just based off of that first match, there was too many nerves or just something in the heads of Hype Unit that really didn't allow them to really capitalize on their experience. Next game was Out Cold and Armada, and this is going to be my first rant of the day. Armada 2-0 Out Cold, and they kind of do it in the most disrespectful way possible. They troll pick and play off things and then just kind of shit stomp on the Out Cold guys. And I hated every second of it. We're reaching a point where there has to be a mutual respect for fellow competitors. So now, since Armada did that, Out Cold walk away with nothing from this LAN. The tape of their games is useless because they got trolled picked, and you're not going to learn anything by looking at troll picks. And I feel like that's really, if I'm being completely honest, I think Armada should be fined for that game because of what they did. It was disrespectful. It was basically in-game taunting. It was BM, whatever you want to call it. You don't do that. There is a certain level of professionalism that needs to be in place for any professional league to work. And I feel like Smite is trying to grow and be a professional league, but there are still so many immature pieces and parts within the system that bring it down. Everybody talks about, oh, why hasn't Smite grown? Why aren't we more popular? It's shit like this. It really grinds my gears when I see stuff like that. You essentially invalidated their entire being there. And I get it. They're PS4. You don't care about them. But give them the chance to grow and to learn. Xbox has had that chance now to grow and to learn, and they become competitive. How do you not look at PS4 and go, oh, they can also be competitive? You're all playing Smite. You're all professional Smite players. So treat them like you would any other team. Don't look down on them just because you can. I think Solar Troll came out and kind of halfway apologized for the team, and they shouldn't have done that. But like, still, that's too little, too late. You've completely taken away the value of experience for that out cold gaming roster. And that's kind of a dick move on just so many levels. I don't know. Like, it just, maybe I'm overreacting, but and we've all kind of been there where we did, flex on a lower team, but not at such a high level. At a LAN, I don't know that we see this. I mean, so there's always BM, right? In any esport, picks that go through that, like, we're only playing this because you're bad. But that doesn't mean it should be tolerated or allowed. I think there should have been, kind of something stated by the league or something along those lines for that set, because it looks really bad on the league to have a team get there and then just get trolled and rolled over without getting anything. I don't know. That's what made me angry. Next up, we had Rival and Sanguine. Sanguine playing without their soul laner Yarkor, and Rival playing at full strength. I expected a lot more from Rival, if I'm being completely honest. I'd seen them get scrims. I've kind of stated several times that I've seen these guys perform really well, and I had a lot of expectations going into this, and they didn't really meet any of it. Sanguine, another one of those teams playing not at full strength, wondering what they could do, and they came in and they showed what they could do. They really they came in, got to work, beat Rival down. Rival, unlike Hype Unit, so Hype Unit played all players on mouse and keyboard, as far as I know. Rival, I believe, had their ADC and their mid laner playing with a controller. So very big differences there. And I won't say that that's the reason why they lost. They did kind of leave their ADC out on an island to get farmed repeatedly, and that really wasn't a good look for them. They just didn't look prepared. I don't know if that's the right word. They just came out and weren't ready. I will say that Sanguine also has looked strong all year, kind of contending with Armada, and now they're here and they're playing on LAN. They're playing on no ping. They looked really strong, and I think Sanguine walks away getting a lot more attention than they otherwise would have had. I think a lot of people had them over Rival, but playing with the sub and then still being so dominant, I think they caught a lot of eyes off of that. Our last of the first day was Nemesis and Simplicity. And unlike the Armada out cold game, Simplicity 2-0 Nemesis, but without resorting to troll picks. They come in, they sit down, they pick real picks, and then they just beat on Nemesis with the actual meta. Not giving away any strategies or anything. They just play picks that you would probably see in a professional game at any level. And they beat Nemesis. Like, I don't know. This is the complete opposite of the Armada out cold game. And Simplicity just kind of beat on Nemesis the good old fashioned way. And so at least Nemesis walk away with actual tape. They can actually learn from this experience. That's the biggest difference. And that's why the first set makes me so angry. Simplicity looked really strong. Nemesis looked out of sorts. Nemesis is the team of Xbox pros who jumped ship to PS4 to get the free pass into LAN and everything. It worked, but at the same time, they get rolled over by Simplicity. What more can you say there? Going to the second set of games, we've got Hype Unit and Armada. Armada 2-1 Hype Unit, but I will say, Hype Unit should have won this set. It was so close. They were right there. They had the path to winning. They played really well for most of the set, most of the games, and it was one call, one overextension, one bad fight, and Armada was able to wrestle a game away from them. Uh, I firmly believe that Hype Unit should have won this game. Armada dropped the ball. Lairs came out and started carrying. Baronic came out and started carrying. The Hype Unit squad for this set is the squad that I expected against Flashpoint, and we didn't see. They looked infinitely better against Armada than they did against Flashpoint. And I think that this team has a really good future of playing against these PC teams. I think a lot of these players have futures in the SPL or SML. They really showed that you can't really look down on console anymore. These guys show that they are world champions and that they should be viewed as such. Again, Armada may have won this set, but in my mind, it should have gone to Hype Unit. I don't know if that's more of a talking up point or talking down point for Hype Unit. I expect more out of them because they are the world champions. Armada's got the SPL talent, so again, they probably should have won this. But that's why I'm also going so hard in the other direction. Hype Unit should have won this. This was their game to win. As the underdog, they had it in the palm of their hand and they let it drop. And that's kind of really frustrating to see when you have that underdog come in and come so close and then drop the ball. The second set of the games was Sanguine and Simplicity. Another set I adamantly believe Simplicity 2-1 Sanguine, but Sanguine should have won this set. They were playing with the sub and still beating Simplicity. One bad call, little bit out of position, turns the game, turns the set in favor of Simplicity. Simplicity looks real strong. I can't wait to see what they do come phase 2. I think they have a lot of talent and are going to. They might be able to be the top team in SML. It'll be interesting to see once Baskin returns to Armada how well Sanguine does. And I think as long as Sanguine keep that number 2 spot, if they can get to LAN, they can really be dangerous in a team you don't want to face, especially at full strength. If this is what they can do with a sub, imagine what they can do at full strength. Simplicity, they do all right. They get the wins out and they capitalize on the mistakes of Sanguine. But again, they probably shouldn't have won this set. Sanguine had the ball in their court and just misplayed, and that's what led Simplicity to get the dubs here. Moving on to the last set of the play-in bracket, we have Armada Simplicity, and Simplicity just looked better than Armada. They 2-0 Armada and do it pretty easily. This was really uncharacteristic from Armada because they had played so well up until this point. They kind of did whatever they wanted, and I don't know. It was a really awkward set to watch if you were an Armada fan because Simplicity just kind of won at every stage across the map, and Armada just kind of looked a little sloppy. I think. Whether it was the strain from the other 2 games or they just weren't prepared, whatever it was, they tried to play up into Simplicity and Simplicity just kind of beat them down. And I think they kind of learned from that mistake once we go into the next day of games. So the next day of games, the play-in bracket has Simplicity finish first, and thus they would play Dignitas, and then Armada finishing second would have to play Rival. Going into this, a lot of teams were saying, yeah, we'd want to play Dignitas. We can play them early and probably try to snowball that into a win. We know what Dignitas' weakness is. Everybody was talking about how they wanted to play Dignitas if they had a choice. Looking at the Armada Rival game from the finals bracket, Armada 2-0 Rival here. As is the prize of the day. Splice 2-0 United, Dignitas 2-0 Simplicity, and Renegades 2-0 Knights. 2-0s across the board. I think that was the most interesting part of the finals bracket. Is that it was so one-sided every step of the way. Armada Rival was one of the most fun sets for me to watch as a coach, because they did exactly what you would want them to do. Rival is the best team in the SPL, according to seeding and according to their record, at playing the SPL meta. So if you're Armada, the best SML team, do you come in and try to play the SPL game? No, you're going to lose that. So you play your own game. Armada came in and played a ranked game against Rival, and Rival couldn't handle it. They just kept getting W'd at, and they couldn't find a response. They played Erlong mid. They played the set. They were just doing whatever they wanted, and Rival couldn't answer back. They were just completely cut off guard. And this was just awe-inspiring. This was, it takes the words out of my mouth to really try to describe what this was. Armada being able to come in and beat Rival was, I think, one of the biggest underdog stories, even with Armada being made up of former SPL talent. You don't expect them to be able to beat Rival. Nobody thought Rival was going to be kicked out in the quarterfinals of the finals bracket. That's just not a possibility there, right? So Rival, whether it was just they weren't prepared, it's hard to say. Armada just played a ranked game, and when you play a ranked game, you have that 50-50 shots of winning and losing, right? And Armada just came out as the better team, better able to press W at you. And I think that was one of the things that Rival had been, more composed and collected, and that's why our Armada was really able to just come in, play whatever they wanted, and really take Rival unawares. On the flip side of that, Splice come in at E United and completely decimate them, and just really handle them pretty quickly. There was some thought that United would be able to put up a better fight against Splice after beating Dignitas to end the first phase. But no, Splice just look undefeatable with Baskin as their solo laner. They continue to look just so strong. You can't really fight them. They have Cyclone and Baskin as their carries. The two side lanes just doing work. Nobody can put up a fight against those two guys. They're having just monster runs going through the brackets. And I think that's really what it comes down to is Cyclone is going to beat you. Baskin is going to beat you. And then they're going to enable so much pressure off of everybody else, off of just got Venenu and from Scream, that they can just kind of fit in where they need to and make plays off of that. And so it really enables the rest of the team to look better. United had moments where they looked like they could fight into Splice, and then they just got overwhelmed. I don't think this is reflective of United. I think they just kind of got the short end of the stick going into Splice. I think United could have matched up better with other teams, perhaps. I don't know. This is still a team that's growing together. They very relatively recently still added Emily, and he had been off for a while. So the more that he gets to play, the more this team plays together. I think the better that they get. Dignitas and Simplicity. Dignitas 2-0 Simplicity. Dignitas don't really look like they had any huge trouble going up against Simplicity. Dignitas really put their heads down, came to work. Everybody was saying, "Oh, they can't play the early game. They can't do this. They can't do that." Blah 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 blah. They're not as good as they were. They're gonna choke like Dignitas always does at LAN. And then they just they beat up on Simplicity. There was question marks on whether or not they would, but Variety just looked better than Maniac. Cuvo looked better than Fails. We get reminded that, oh yeah, this is SPL versus SML, even though it's a lot of SPL talent on the other side. And I think Simplicity's strategy was a lot of it riding on Streak Up, and I don't think Streak Up had the best game. He did look a little rough on the LAN, and I think that's where Dignitas beat Simplicity is just a little bit more experienced in that regard and working as a team on LAN. I think that's a big issue moving forward is these SPL teams do have a ton of LAN experience. All of their games are on LAN, so they're kind of used to playing at that high level with no ping, and then all the teams that are playing on online are a little at a disadvantage. Uh, Moving on, Knights versus Renegades. This was one game that we were really anticipating. You know, we had seen a little bit of Knights Renegades. Knights were the first ones to give Renegades their losses, and you know, a lot of banter back and forth between these two squads, and you know, Raffer versus Emilzy. There's always a little bit more heat there. Knights wanting to prove that they are supposed to be here. They are a strong team. They are a number one team. Uh, but they just so we only see game one. Game two was cut short, but it was a I think sub 25-minute game, if I remember correctly. And they just get walloped by Renegades. Renegades come in and look really strong. They look like they regained, you know, what made them good during the phase. Um, we talked about what the key to Renegade success was. Move from the phase one, and all of the games that they won, Dardes was on a carry. Every game that they looked really good, Dardes was on a carry. So I don't think Dardes didn't play anything but a carry god this entire time, and it worked. Renegades came in and figured out what worked best for them, and Knights just couldn't stop them. Nobody had an answer for what Dardes was doing, what Funball was doing. Raffer's looking amazing. Nika has got to be up for like most improved player. He's looking unreal, very consistent in that solo lane role. This whole Renegade squad is just clicking. They're playing the best team smite, but not in the same way. So before, you know, we would have said Rivals playing the best team smite. I think Renegades are playing the best team smite in a very different way. Everybody's playing their role to a T, and the way that they're so codependent on all of that makes Renegades really strong as a team. So Renegades 2-0 Knights to progress and just leave Knights again out in the cold. This Knights roster needs changes. I do not think that this team wins a Worlds. They need to make changes. I don't know what those changes would be. Do you get rid of Vote? Do you get rid of Emilzy? Do you get rid of Zeros? Adapting, Deathwalker? Something has to change, but where do you change? Where do you go? This is an all or nothing squad, and they're getting nothing. I've said it the entire year. They haven't looked great in any win. They have beaten a bad SK squad. They beat a Renegades squad who was coming off of a ton of games. Knights haven't dominated any team like you would expect them. They had 1 or 2 weeks where they looked like they put it together, and they were, you know, Adapting was playing more onto Deathwalker's side. Deathwalker was able to then do a lot more out of the soul lane like he's used to, and they were looking better. And then they just lose it. I don't know. It's this Knight squad is really awkward, and I still hold true to what I've been saying all year is I don't think they really come close to a world championship this year. That roster by far, I think, has out of all the top teams, I think they have like the worst chance of winning a chip, and I feel vindicated from watching the MSI. Second round of the MSI, we have Armada versus Splice. Armada, you know, came into Rival, played a ranked game, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, that's going to beat Rival, sure. But you can't play a ranked game against Splice, because Splice will play a ranked game right back at you and beat you with it. And that's exactly what they do. We have the shortest game of the entire tournament here. Game 2 of this set was only 18 minutes and 32 seconds long. Splice just completely overwhelmed Armada. There's nothing that they can do. Baskin just manhandles Solar Troll. You have Cyclone, who just beats up on Snoopy. There's just nothing that the boys of Armada could do against Splice. Splice looking real strong. Baskin being the key to their victory. They really do play through those side lanes to get their victories. and Armada just could not keep up across the board. There's too many pieces. They weren't able to move enough to find any traction or footing against the Supply Squad. On the other side, Renegades versus Dignitas. Renegades sticking true to their game plan. Dardes carry, mages on fun ball, wild stuff across the board. Having Cherio switch from a more aggressive kill-oriented style into a more setup playmaker style, playing the Neja still, but using it in a way to set up kills for others and not really trying to go out of the way and get him some, one-on-ones. Renegades surprise everybody by getting the 3-0. I feel like, Knights was okay, cool. I could have seen that, but Dignitas getting 3-0'd here, not what I was anticipating. I really felt like Dig could have had a better shot here than they ended up having. Renegades, though, before the season started, I said that if these guys get on the same level, they can be a really dangerous team, and they proved that game after game after game against Dignitas. Just smothered them, didn't let Hurry do anything, really just locked down the map and made Dignitas play from behind, which I think is really important. I mean, that's always been the key to kind of beating Dig is, punch them in the face early and keep them on their back foot. Don't let them get any purchase. Don't let them get comfortable anywhere. And that's what Renegades kind of excels at with the squad. They kind of just want to press W at you whenever they can, and they make it so you take bad fights. Renegades looked really strong so far in this MSI. So we get to the finals. Splice versus Renegades. And Renegades 3-0 Splice. Wow. Splice has been telegraphing how to beat them all season long. You listen to what they say. You listen to, I interviewed Coach Kabam, and he kept saying that their side lanes are what lead them to victory. Everyone's talking about Cyclone and Baskin and how those guys make it so they win. Renegade said, okay, we're going to take those two guys out of the equation. And they did. And that's no small feat. To take Baskin and Cyclone out of the picture completely is insane. Cyclone has been playing as the best ADC in the world all season. Baskin has been the best solo. And so you have Nika and you have Funball going up against those two guys. Nika playing, a mix of Warriors, Guardians. You put him on the Orm, he looks really strong. You put him on the Achilles, he looks really strong. You couldn't take him off something that he looked great on. And then Funball going between mages and, mage ADCs, traditional mages, whatever. He looked really good on any of it. He mitigated whatever Splice was trying to do. I can't say enough how much of a Herculean effort that is to shut down those side lanes. But what it did is it made Venenu, Aurora, and Scream the guys who had to beat you. And they couldn't. They could not break through. Raffer had an insane series here. He eventually wins MVP for this set. I think, I won't say that he didn't deserve it, but I will say that there is an argument to be made, in my opinion, from Dardes. Dardes is what won Renegades MSI. He played on her. He played on her, and he played on her. And at some point, you have to break out. So we ran into the same thing last year. Going into Worlds, we had everybody playing Fenrir and Odin and all of these gods with leaps and everything like that. And then nobody played a Wheelix. Nobody thought about it. And then one team did. And they completely shut down the Odin and the Fenrir. And then a Wheelix started getting picked again. Like, oh yeah, this god exists. I don't understand why people don't pick a Wheelix. There were several points where Splice could have done it. Scream could play a Wheelix. I know he can. I know that's in his wheelhouse. Hell, you could have Aurora play a Wheelix. You could have Baskin play a Wheelix. Somebody on that team can play a Wheelix. You can't tell me that they couldn't in that set, because you have the Yorm. I believe they had the Yorm. They had the other team playing characters with jumps. They had Horus, so Raffer plays the Horus. You let them play the Horus. He was a big reason why Renegades won as well. The on her combo with Horus was just able to shred prots and heal his team. And I think Raffer, out of anybody, had the best usages of the Horus ult so far. But it's easily negated if you just kill Raffer on cooldown when he tries to 3 away, when he tries to leap away to a teammate. You just yank him back as Weelix. You stun him, he's going to take damage, you pop him with everybody around him, and then you just take a fight after that. I don't understand why we're not seeing Weelix picked in professional play when so many gods have leaps. And I really feel like that was one of the weaker points of the MSI, is teams were not willing to adapt. Renegades have adapted to what the meta is, and the meta is nothing. The meta is whatever you want it to be. Truly and honestly, right now, as long as you are comfortable with a god, as long as you are comfortable as a team with a comp, you can win on anything. You force the team to play your game. You force them off of what's traditional, what's normal. Anybody in Smite who has a traditional, normal view of the game is going to be beaten and going to be phased out of the league. Mark my words. Renegades won MSI. Splice got to the finals in MSI by playing stuff that wasn't exactly super meta. They more so Renegades than Splice for sure. Splice does play a lot of normal stuff, quote unquote. I mean, a lot of their stuff goes to Aurora in that support role, but even then, they play some janky, weird stuff. I don't know. Renegades just have it figured out. You can do whatever you want as long as it looks decent, as long as you can play it, you can make it work. And I really like that about where we are in the current landscape of Smite. Like I said, Raffer wins MVP, but I really do feel like that this set and this MSI as a whole really came off of the back of Dardes on the Aurora. He looked fantastic. Honestly, there was a joke on the desk that, if you could give a joint MVP, I think they definitely could have. Giving it to Raffer, giving it to Nika, and giving it to Dardes would have been really, those three guys are really heavily responsible for the wins. Raffer and Dardes, especially, if they could have a dual MVP, because I don't think either of those guys, maybe impacted it more than the other. Raffer had, like I said, he had the best Horus ults of anybody who's played Horus so far. And then he played Khepri one game where he looked better than Season 3 Worlds, where he, was Khepri. Like he was just, he hit every single possible res that you could imagine in that Season 3 World set. It was amazing, and he kind of channeled that again. He did a frame perfect revive. I forget onto who, but if he doesn't get that off, they lose that fight, and then they might get snowballed out of that game. Renegades were just really able to work super well as a team, and then really translate that into the victory. I'm really excited for what this means moving forward. If everybody, I think that everybody's going to look at what Armada did to Rival, and then what Renegades was able to do to Knights, Dignitas, and Splice, and really say, okay, we need to reevaluate what we're doing with the game. We need to kind of experiment a little bit more. If we don't get super crazy picks going into phase 2, I'm going to be super disappointed, because I 100% think that's kind of what we need to move to. I mean, you look at the stats, least deaths per game, all Renegades players. Highest KDA, all Renegades players. Highest win picked on her because of Dardes. There was just so many factors that kind of go into this squad, and you'll love to see it. All of these guys, super good dudes. And I'm really glad that they kind of came together and got the success. Funball, especially, he's deserved this. He had a rough year this last year. Raffers kind of had the redemption arc as well. Nika bounced around a lot of bottom teams. I'm just really excited to see what this Renegade squad does. I will always be a Dignitas fanboy because of Ataraxia right now. But Renegades as a team, I like more than I think any other team in the league. And I'm super excited to watch them moving forward. So MSI, after MSI, there was the Splice Invitational, but that was, I don't know, it lacked a lot this year. I really didn't enjoy it as much. They kind of did away with all of the fun stuff that makes the MSI, well, not the MSI, but the invitational, the all-star event. So we just had 2 games, well, 3 games, one on each side, and then a finals, and it was okay. Nothing too great. We did see a lot more of the console guys, and they did very well. I think the biggest thing that we learned, you know, outside of meta shifts with Renegades and everything like that, is the talent that Xbox and console has to offer and to bring. We have, I think, Layers as one of the next junglers, the next great junglers to come up. He brought the Guan Yu jungle into the fray, and that became a meta pick. And when you can influence the meta like that with one pick, that's a really good sign. I can't wait to see more of him. They release the world's format during the MSI, and it was a little bit controversial. There was more slots for console than there were for SML, and that rubbed everybody the wrong way. And so, while console gets its own worlds, it is like 3 games. It's not that big. It's super small, and kind of they're doing away with console world. It's nowhere near where it was last year. And the top teams from that, the teams who play in the world championship, are going to go into the PC worlds bracket. They have automatic qualification to worlds or the placement playing bracket. I forget which. And then they ended up having more slots for console. They have now walked it back where SML does have more representation, which makes sense because you're wanting your SMLs to get picked up by pro teams, so you got to let them play against the pros in those types of environments. I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness going on. We talk to Layers and we talk about how this could be the end of console Smite as we know it, with mouse and keyboard integration coming, with crossplay coming. If PS4 gets on board, we could see a unified league between console and PC. I think that is probably where SML kind of gets utilized, maybe Combine to a lesser extent. Who knows? With the SML being franchised, it becomes a little awkward. Maybe expanding it by 2 or 4 slots. They are expanding the SML by 2 slots for this phase. Very unsure how that's going to work. What's going to happen? Is it reverting? Are those 2 spots then going to be franchised at the end of the year? Are they just are they increasing the size of the leagues? If they could do that with the SML, why can't they do that with the SPL? Allow the top SML teams to then promote up to compete, and those teams to allow Armada and Sanguine to then play in the SPL and get those franchise spots or whatever, or have Armada and Sanguine then. I don't know. There's so many weird things that are going on with this. And, while at one end they want to promote and relegate, on the other end, you can't do that because of the franchising. So they're really at odds with themselves. And I really hope that we have some more answers for what the systems and such are going to look like next year. The SML spots, the combine teams that are promoting up into the SML, are getting no pay at all. So they go from, the first place winner of Combine gets, I think it's $180. They're getting that every month, or, the 160, I think 150, something like that for second place. They're going from getting 180, $150 a month to getting nothing a month. And like 150, 180 is not a lot, but it's something. It's some payment to keep going forward with. And now they're getting nothing. And that's really hard because then those teams have to try to find orgs. All right, so what do they offer the org? They have the spot that's not guaranteed to stay. They aren't going to get anything from Skill Shot or Titan Forge. Maybe code distribution, but that's really it. Maybe on the broadcast, and then they have the ability to maybe qualify for LAN for Worlds. Uh, and is that realistic for the two teams of Combine who qualify into SML? Are they going to be able to beat Armada? Are they going to be able to beat Sanguine? Are they going to be able to place at the top of the bracket? I don't know that they will be. That's it's a really weird place to be. Yes, those Combine teams are now getting more competition. They're getting to scrim against the SML squads. They're getting, more practice and going to get better. But then what? What's the long-term play? If they get picked up by an org, why would the org pay them? And they should be getting paid because they were getting paid at the lower level. So you would think moving up to the next level would allow them to get paid as well. It's a lot of interesting moving pieces that all still have to get sorted out. There was a lot of questions about what season 6 would look like, and then we got some answers. And I think largely season 6 has been a huge success, but it's also been a victim of the success as well, because then they're kind of pivoting and making changes and making it better, but at the same time that's causing them problems because of like the long term, right? And what that means, and the current system doesn't match. We're still in a really awkward transition period for Smite, and I think it's going the right direction, but there is stuff from its past and the way that the game has been and the league has been that kind of holds it back and keeps it from really making those steps forward. And I think next season is going to be better than this one. Maybe not as flashy, sure, but in terms of stability and things like that, I think next year, they'll have things more battened down. So that'll be good. Looking ahead to phase 2, not only do we have those Combine teams moving up into the SML, we've already seen looking for team tweets out of Solo or Troll. We know that Splice is going to need a solo laner. So we have, Solo or Troll has played for that team as a sub. Maybe he gets picked up. We talked to Gabam and he said he didn't want either Manjo Warrior or Solo or Troll. So where does that leave Splice? That leaves them with getting another solo laner. So you look at the landscape and who can they really pick up, right? Is Variety gonna leave Dig? No, he's not. Is Fine Okay gonna leave Rival? No, he's not. Is Benji gonna leave United? Would they want Benji? Benji maybe moves, but I don't know. I can't say either way. Does Deathwalker move? Probably not. Deathwalker on that squad, probably a great pickup. Nika doesn't move. Does Ducky move? I don't think they want Ducky. So SSG, does Aquarius move? That would be an interesting one. SSG has been struggling. Aquarius is a wonderkin prodigy solo laner, was like the rookie of the year. Does he move on from SSG into bigger and better pastures and some more opportunities? That could be an interesting play for Splice. But again, that team has stuck together pretty well, that SSG squad. That's kind of like what their hallmark is. They've made small changes, but they don't make a lot of big changes. And then if SSG does that, who does SSG pick up? Then we're looking at Solo or Mando probably. So there's a lot of potential movement coming up from the SML and SPL, I think, for phase 2. I'm really excited to kind of see what happens. And if we do get, some form of roster apocalypse. We've already seen SML kind of break down a little bit with Cryptic seeing a lot of changes, and then we'll have those two combine teams moving up, maybe more movement with the SPL and SML as a whole. It'll be really fun to track and see where players go. Maybe new faces will show up. I do think out of the SML, the ones who are the call up, so Mineral is looking for a team. Several teams need a support, right? We've talked about it all year. Ionic hasn't looked the greatest. We've looked at, Kiki hasn't looked the greatest. I keep saying that Jeff Hindla hasn't looked the greatest, but I don't think you ever have Jeff Hindla leave SSG, right? I mean, that Jeff and Barra are the sex tank. They stick together forever. So who knows? I mean, Ducky as a soul laner, is he gonna stay? Wowie as an ADC, is he gonna stay? LG, anybody could, be fair game. Really. There's a lot of opportunity here for upward mobility and, side to side mobility. And then whoever, is left at the end, SML could see a lot of changes as well. There's only so many spots to take, and then you've got to swallow your pride and move down from the SPL back and down in the SML, and then maybe show them they made a mistake and carry a team to land and beat your old team. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that's as much rambling as I really can do today. Thanks for watching, everybody. On top of this, I did go on another podcast. I know, how sacrilegious of me. A second podcast? How dare I cheat on Around the Battleground? But it was a podcast that I've been meaning to go on for a while. They've been around for a while. They kind of have a similar name to us, Battleground of the Gods. They focus more on casual Smite, the Smite game itself, and really less on the pro and competitive side of things. So they talk about patch notes, they talk about what they've been playing, what their ranked games are, more of that side of things than the competitive side. But they wanted to do some coverage around the midseason invitational. So they invited myself and former co-host of Around the Battleground, Mr. J Mac Tucker. So J Mac and I reunited, and it felt so good. And we talked about, I think we were on that show for over an hour. Really good stuff. Kind of a round table. We talk about a lot. They said that Renegades came out of nowhere. I said they didn't. They said that, Pittsburgh Knights is a strong team. I said they weren't. So really, just wanted to hammer down my agenda, get my propaganda out there to as many people as possible. So go check them out. That's Around the Battleground. You can find that over, I think they have their own not Facebook. Wow. I am all over the place today. You can find them at Battleground of on their Twitter, and they have a link to their SoundCloud where you can go watch that. I highly recommend it. If you like the show, you can go there and listen to me, J-Mac, and Willow, their host, just have us talk about everything MSI related. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So go do that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Working on getting interviews done of the from Renegades. They all kind of went on holiday. Everybody's taking a vacation where they can. So all the EU guys are going back home. Makes it hard to do any content. I have reached out to Genetics. I was supposed to talk to him this week, and then things got away from me. So I'll be talking to him most likely. Still working on getting a Millsy. I swear, guys, that's gonna happen. I'm gonna get a Millsy on, and it's gonna be a great time. And I'm gonna poke a lot of fun at him and his Pittsburgh Knights roster. And then hopefully when Funball gets back, we will talk to him. I love Kieran. Maybe even some Raffer action. And then I think we have Just Lion, who will be coming on the show as well. Somebody tweeted at me and said that I should have him on the show. So that's what I'm gonna do. That'll be fun. I like having more representation from the console guys. maybe even some more minor league guys now that I am going to be a minor league coach. But who knows? Because they're probably not going to want to talk to me since I am a competitor to them. We'll see what happens there on that front. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time around the Battleground. Goodbye, everybody.